You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Okay, that's where we go. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. The RTM will be convened on Wednesday, June 8th, 2022 at 8 p.m. at Branford Fire Headquarters, 45 North Main Street, to consider and act upon the following matters. Will everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 1, roll call.
Go slow. We lost everybody.
We lost Zoom?
Lost him.
I gotta try to hook up on my phone.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Should I wait for you or go ahead? Okay. Good evening. Representative Alphone?
He's absent.
Absent. Thank you. Representative Amore?
Here.
Representative Anderson?
Here.
Representative Barron?
Here.
Representative Black?
Here.
Representative Bonenberger?
Here.
Representative Brooks?
Present.
Representative Conklin?
Absent.
Absent. Representative Everson?
Here.
Representative Erlanger?
Here.
Representative Flanagan?
Here.
Representative Greenberg? Absent. Representative Healy? Absent. Representative Henschel?
Here.
Representative Hines?
Here.
Representative Ingraham?
Here.
Representative Kelly?
Here.
Representative Leach is present. Representative Maresca?
Here.
Zoom.
Zoom, okay, thank you. Representative Preet?
Here.
Representative Riccio? Absent. Representative Shrestha?
Present.
Representative Sires? Representative Stepanik?
Here.
Representative Sullivan?
Here.
Representative Torelli?
Present.
Thank you. Representative Toohill?
Here.
Representative Verderam?
Here.
Representative Witkowski?
Zoom.
Zoom. And Representative Wells?
Here.
Thank you. And we have First Selectman Cosgrove and Town Clerk Arpin.
Moving on to item 2, approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion to approve by Representative Ingraham. Is there a second? Second. Representative Preet. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those signify by saying aye for approval.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The minutes are approved without exception. Item number 3, reception of communications, reports of committees and citizens petitions. We do have one. Will the clerk, Representative Leach, please read the correspondence?
Okay. I have a letter from Representative Sullivan. Dear Moderator Flanagan, with the recent passage of Public Act 22-3, each municipality in the state of Connecticut has been given the ability to choose to utilize in-person or virtual meetings. As we, the RTM, successfully conducted the business of the town for approximately 2 years, I believe we should take advantage of utilizing this technology. Our members and this body showed flexibility as we successfully drafted ordinances and passed budgets during the COVID pandemic. Continuing use of the virtual meeting platform is not just about keeping people safe from COVID exposures. By utilizing Zoom as our virtual platform for hosting meetings, we reduced car travel for members, town staff, and members of the public. these reduced carbon emissions make virtual meetings arguably better for the environment. Holding the meetings virtually also reduces scheduling and logistics of reserving space, setting up equipment, and utilizing staff and resources to do so. RTM members, staff, and the general public can attend from the comfort of their home or wherever they may choose to be when they log in. It seemed that our meetings experienced more attendance and participation by the public during our virtual meetings than our in-person sessions. It is currently unclear whom on the RTM or anyone else determines whether full and subcommittee meetings are held in person or in a virtual format. Many of our subcommittee meetings are very short and would be perfect examples of when we should be using the virtual meeting format. I ask that the Rules and Ordinance Committee consider incorporation of policies for virtual meetings into our town meeting rules so it is clear who makes these decisions. This policy would include text about who would be creating the virtual meeting info and who is the moderator for each of these sessions, full and subcommittees. Thank you for your time and consideration of this request. Sincerely, Chris Sullivan, RTM member, 6th District.
All right, I will send that to the Rules and Ordinance Committee.
Okay.
I have nothing else. If you just forward that to me when you get a chance, okay?
Okay.
Okay, moving on to item 4, to consider and if appropriate, approve changing the position of the Branford tax collector from a elected official to a hired appointment. Representative Black.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Through you, this was on our agenda for our regular May meeting, but we did not have a quorum, so I'll ask that it be re-referred. I'll put that in the form of a motion and ask for a second.
Second.
Motion on the floor, and it's been seconded to re-refer this item. Any discussion on the re-referral? Hearing none, all those in favor of re-referring the item signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The item is re-referred. Moving on to item 5, to consider and if appropriate, approve the recommendation of the Board of Finance that the RTM evaluate the requests to fund the positions of the Registrar of Voters on a full-time basis beginning January 1, 2023, for each year and their 2-year term of office, at the rate of pay recommended by the Human Resources Department and approved by the RTM. This recommendation will be made pursuant to analysis of the department's operation and staffing requirements. Representative Verderame?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The Admin Services Committee met last night, and the committee voted unanimously to re-refer this item so that we have more time to review. So I will put that in the form of a motion here.
Motion on the floor to re-refer this item. Any discussion on the re-referral? Hearing none, all those in favor of re-referring the item signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? This item is re-referred. Item number 6, to consider and if appropriate, approve a third amendment to lease agreement between the Town of Branford and J&J Blasting for an additional 3-year lease extension. Representative Verderame.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. This lease agreement has been in place for 10 years, and the town collects $7,200 a year from J&J's use of our quarry. This item passed the Board of Selectmen unanimously. And also passed committee last night unanimously as well, and I move its favorable passage.
Motion on the floor to approve this item. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The item passes. Moving on to item 7.
We have one abstention.
One abstention? Who was that? Representative Brooks? Okay. Moving on to item 7, to consider and if appropriate, approve an amendment to a lease agreement between the Town of Branford and Zabello Fireworks for an additional 3-year lease extension. Representative Verderame.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The term of this lease is only for the fireworks season, and this is the 2nd year this lease is in place. We heard the item last year, and it passed here as well. It should be noted that this lease is not contingent upon Zambelli securing the bid for fireworks in Branford. So I just wanted to make that clear that that's not contingent in the bid. The town collects $2,000 a year from this lease. Mr. Moderator, this item passed committee 6-1, and I move its favorable passage.
Okay, is there a minority report?
Yes, Mr. Moderator.
Representative Furkan?
I am the lone minority. I voted against this. My concern is public safety with the transportation of these fireworks on our roads. And while the quarry is a good place to store these items, that was my objection.
Okay. Any other discussion on this item? And it should be also noted that Zambelli is not the designated fireworks shooter for this fireworks on June 25th. Being on the fireworks committee, we did negotiate for a new vendor. Okay, all those in favor of the recommendation to approve this signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? The item passes. Moving on to item 8, to consider and if appropriate adjust to align with Connecticut Constitution Rule A 236-2, RTM Clerk Rule 2-2, dealing with absences of RTM members. Representative Black.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Rules and Ordinance had a special meeting on this item Monday night. This is Rule 2.2 of the RTM rules. It's an RTM rule. It's not an ordinance. It's not a charter provision. It's an RTM rule. And what Rule 2.2 says is that if a member misses 3 consecutive meetings, they lose their seat, and then the vacancy would be declared, and we have a election as per our normal vacancy procedures. Now, as far as the Constitution violating, there's nothing on that, but there's no specific case on this, but there are numerous cases on recalls. There's a general principle that municipalities only have the powers as they're specifically granted by the state. There's a lot of cases on recalls where the courts have ruled unless you have a specific legislative act approving your charter, which a couple of the older cities have, you cannot put a recall provision on your charter. Once somebody's elected, they're elected, and it's really up to the voters to turn them out at the end of their term. That recalls are not allowed in Connecticut as a general rule, and some of those were decisions where it was in the charter rather than simply a rule. So, my opinion as attorney and the town attorney's opinion is if this were challenged, it would not be upheld. There was a significant feeling on the committee that we really didn't like this rule anyway, that it was up to the parties, the leaders to say to a member, hey, you're not showing up, please resign so we can replace you with somebody that's showing up. But we should not as a body adopt rules that overturn an election. So the vote was unanimous to repeal this rule, so I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, motion on the floor to repeal this rule. Any discussion on the Representative Sullivan?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you. I agree with everything Representative Black said. There's been in the past where this rule was unenforceable because you can't kick out somebody that's elected. They can only resign or not be elected on the next term. I do think that there was something that could have been done with amending the rule and having it that there be a motion to censure a member that isn't at 3 consecutive meetings, and that it would just be a little bit more accountability for the members of this body. I'm probably not going to vote against the fact that it was stricken from our rules, but I just thought it was an opportunity to, just like I said, just have a little bit more accountability to the members of this body. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor of repealing this signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? This item passes. Moving on to item 9, to consider and if appropriate, approve the town of Branford participating in the Neighborhood Assistance Tax Credit Program. Representative Verderam.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So this is a program that the town of Branford participates in annually. This year's applicants to the program were the Community Dining Room and Connecticut Hospice. This item passed committee unanimously last night, and I move its favorable passage.
Was that you, Representative Verderam? That was unanimous?
Yes.
Any discussion on the motion? Representative Black?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Just to be clear, we're also at this point approving the applications from Connecticut Hospice and from, what's the other one? The Community Dining Room. And this program costs the town nothing, but we're just telling the state that these are worthy organizations, worthy of the state's tax credit support.
Any further discussion on this item? Representative Maury?
Point of clarification, through you, Mr. Moderator. Chairwoman, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting how to speak tonight. Verderam, in Jim Finch's memo, he said he states that it was important to specify each program. I'm not sure why, but it is in his memo. So in our minutes, it has to say. And I don't know whether that requires a separate vote for each one, but it has to be specified.
We haven't listed saying them out loud, so Peter helped there.
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Moderator, in our minutes, it is listed separately.
Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Item passes. Item
One
number-
abstention.
One abstention.
Abstained.
Moving on to item 10, any other business to come before the RTM? Representative Toohill?
Thank you. Test 1, 2. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I was driving through the center of town the other day, and I saw a big banner at that dynamic Giordano business, Branford Building Supplies, open again as usual. I want to take you back a few months ago. That's that's wooden barns with wood that they sell. There was a fire down there. There was an alarm that went off, and the Branford Fire Department promptly showed up along with the volunteer companies. I believe Guilford, North Branford, East Haven also answered the call. They did a wonderful job. They stopped that whole collection of barns and wood from being destroyed by a fire. And it was tremendous. They showed up within, I think Chief Mahoney said, 3 minutes. 3 minutes after the alarm went off, the Branford Fire Department was on the scene. So I just wanted to compliment the chief and all the people that showed up, the volunteers, the paid professionals, East Haven, Guilford, because I mean that could have been quite a bad fire, right in the center of town and all wood. Thank you.
Representative Ingraham?
Mr. Moderator, I'd like the RTM to take a moment of silence for, we lost last week Vinnie Thomas. He's a Iwo Jima survivor, spent many years with the American Legion, very passionate about making sure our youngsters knew the history, history of what's going on in our world wars. I had many interactions with him on making sure I knew the history also. Very passionate guy about making sure that you knew that. He made sure that every Legionnaire showed up to as many events as possible. So I'd like to take a moment of silence to remember Vinnie Thomas.
Vinnie Thomas, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Representative Preet?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. On Saturday, June 25th, the Blackstone Library will be hosting a birthday bash on their grounds. This is a community-wide celebration in recognition of the Blackstone's 125th birthday. The trustees are inviting and encouraging everyone to attend and help celebrate this milestone. Thank you.
Anyone else from the RTM wishes to speak? Right, Representative Brooks?
She kept it.
I apologize for my T-shirt. I forgot a shirt. This was in my car.
It's clean.
I would just like to piggyback on Representative Sullivan, his communications, and we'll talk about it in R&O. It'd be great. I can't wait. But so now we're in the summer months, and everybody gets really busy. So while I hope that we, you know, I'm sure just looking at the call and what's been re-referred, we're going to have stuff to do on come July. But, you know, if we don't, let's just try to, you know, it goes back to the, you know, let's not have meetings for a $10 transfer kind of deal. But, you know, let's just be, let's try to, you know, respect everybody. We got kids and we're going places and colleges and whatnot. So let's try to be respectful. I ask that, you know, if there's not a lot and we can push it off, let's push it off. That's all. I mean, I'll be here because, you know, me and you. But that's all.
Well, Representative Brooks, the only thing I can say at this point, my intention would be not to meet, but I traditionally, we do have the finance director closing out a lot of accounts. I was assume we're going to have something in July, but I can't guarantee it, okay? Anybody else from the RTM wishing to speak? Representative Everson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. I just want to remind people that the ARPA funds, about $2.5 million has been committed. There's still about $5 million that has been not committed. So there's still an opportunity to put in requests for the American Rescue Plan dollars, which are aimed at helping the public and entities, organizations get through and past COVID. Thank you.
Anyone else from the RTM? Mr. Rowland, did you want to talk to the RTM? Yes. You can come up here, yeah. Just a reminder, is this something that pertains to the Board of Education?
Ironically enough, yes.
It's not really RTM business.
I understand all the disclaimers. I do.
But I'll give you get some time to speak to it. Keep it brief, okay?
Thank you. This, actually, your approach, it feels a lot like the Board of Ed when John Prinz was chair, so thank you for that nostalgia. What I wanted to speak about was the Board of Ed. And, okay, so we went through the whole process with the budget and passed the budget pretty much the same way that it's done in the past. You know, 2%-ish, come in around 2%, and then go back and forth over a little bit of loose change, and we did that. You know, with all of the stuff that the RTM is not responsible for with regard to the Board of Ed and with regard to the district leadership, of which there's plenty, as reminded by Mr. Moderator this evening. But, you know, with that being said, there are also some things that can be done. And I'm here to suggest one small thing that can be done. And I think it could be appropriate if, all right, we weren't going to cut the budget, we weren't going to do this, we weren't going to do that. But, you know, I've spoken to about 2/3 of the people in this room recently, in the past, or both. And I think the takeaway is that something should be done. Not sure what, but something. That's my takeaway from having the privilege of speaking to about 2/3 of the people in the room. And what I'd like to respectfully suggest is something that is something that's simple, something that actually I overlooked. I think an idea of a confidence, no confidence vote from the RTM's perspective could be very appropriate. I mean, I was at the Board of Ed meeting, perhaps not surprisingly, after you all passed the budget, and the way it's, you know, the way the whole thing was being communicated to the Board of Ed by district leadership is, you know, it was just another day in the office, another walk in the park. Everything is all peachy keen. It's not, and it's being communicated that way here through the mouths of RTM members. RTM members have talked about how most of the people that they know have left Branford not to send their kids here. We have another RTM member that talked about how his kids were, I believe, in Branford's system 1 year, and then he transferred all of them, I believe it was to Hopkins. We have another RTM member who's not here today, who told me that she hears more negative stuff about the district and the Board of Ed than everything else combined in town. So what I'm saying is that a vote, a confidence, no confidence vote, I think is called for and very appropriate. You didn't want to do anything with regard to money or anything like that. Okay, I get that. But that doesn't mean that there can't be other things that can be done that send an effective message. On the other hand, you know, hey, if the message is there's no confidence, that's a message. On the other hand, you know, maybe 29 people are going to vote tremendous confidence, this is great. Well, that's a great message to send too. But I think we need to move away from this default of let's think of the ways of not doing anything and, you know, kind of substitute that for something that says, hey, we can't do X, but here's what we can do, and do something. And that's what I'd like to suggest is a vote of confidence or no confidence, whether it be tonight, whether it be on the agenda for next meeting. Because we're at a point where, we're at a very critical point. People think, okay, Mr. Hernandez is leaving by June of 2023. Well, you know, maybe yes, maybe no. All right, I don't think that that's a 100% thing. And honestly, there's still a lot of board members there that, you know, there's still a lot of board members there that one can't say positively what they're going to do. We've seen a lot of changes, a lot of movement back and forth. And I think by sending a message and embracing what you all can do could be a very positive step, and that's what I'm here to suggest. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so just a comment on that. This really does not come under the jurisdiction of the RTM, Mr. Jerome, and we're not going to, the RTM is not going to get involved with something like that, okay?
Why are you so biased?
That's it. That is it.
I
That's
don't
it.
have, you know, something, I don't have any problem with
we're not-
you guys
We're not dealing with it. End of conversation.
Your attitude and approach is...
There's nothing before us. So.
With Representative Brooks?
I would just like to rise in support of Representative Flanagan, or should I call you But, we are not elected to get involved in the education system, and therefore, I mean, look at, I built a dock today. I don't know how to educate kids, and I'm in no position to vote confidence or no confidence. Even if it's, because, I'm not happy with my kid's math teacher, but, it's just not appropriate for this body, so I'm going to just support UL.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, I have just two other items I'd like to bring up before we go to adjournment. June is dog licensing month. The town clerk asked me to mention that. And also, Branford Festival on Father's Day weekend. We got it back, so let's get out there and do it. Okay, item 11, adjournment. Representative Torelli, you there?
She's mudded.
She fell
Claire.
asleep.
She's trying. Give her a second. Claire?
Pardon me?
Would you like to adjourn, or I can leave you on Zoom, but we're leaving. You still there, Claire?
I guess we're not
She must have a
leaving.
problem. I'll make the motion.
All right, Representative Ingraham made a motion to adjourn, seconded. All those,
Yeah,
all right. You there, Claire?
we're adjourning.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Who was that seconded by?
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Brantford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BrantfordTV.org.